The longest part of my trip takes place in Madre Selva, a research station lost in the middle of the forest by a tributary of the Amazon. It can only be reached after 7 hours of boat from Iquitos. The boat is called a ponguero. It's like a bus between communities on the Amazon. The last hour is on an even smaller boat across the forest. Finally, we arrive at the station and I discover what will be my bedroom for the next month. In Madre Selva, I will conduct the main experiment of my project, involving the fruits that I collected previously. But first, I need to explore the forest around the station. Interestingly, my former advisor worked here several years ago. If you know where to look, you can still find signs of her visit. But the forest is doing a great job at overgrowing them. It gives me a good idea of what my flagging tape labels will look like in 10 years. Madre Selva is run by Project Amazonas. This is a humanitarian, conservation and education non-profit organization. The station comprises a group of small individual habitations and the large common area with the kitchen. There are also amenities in the forest, such as the more Indiana Jonesy bridge that I've ever seen. Unavoidable, especially during the rainy season. Crossing this bridge feels like a small adventure every time. Like in the other parts of the forest that I visited so far, squirrel monkeys are not rare in Madre Selva. However, watching them jumping from tree to tree never gets old. First step of my experiment, retrieving the seeds from the fruits that I collected. I also need to prepare labels to identify each seed individually with the code of the plants that produced it. Once the setup is ready, I can plant the seeds one at a time in each pot. I plant a total of 360 seeds. I explained previously that the ants I study kill all the plants that are not from the species that they inhabit, which is called Doroya. To understand how the ants identify plants, I'm growing Doroya plants from 3 different locations in Peru. I will eventually transplant them into gardens at Madre Selva and observe whether the ants behave more aggressively towards Doroya from distant locations than towards Doroya from Madre Selva. But for now, I have to wait for the seeds to germinate. Very close to the station, there is a tower that was built to study the canopy. It's a little bit old, and plants are growing on its structure. But climbing is too tempting. And this is the perfect place to watch clouds assembling above the forest, announcing tonight's thunderstorm. Inside my little house, the noise is impressive. The morning after, everything is back to normal, and I stop on my way to the gardens to watch these 2 butterflies dancing together for several minutes. More emblematic of the rainforest, the morpho butterflies are also more elusive. They are quite unremarkable when resting. But as soon as they open their wings, they're like blue lightnings in the forest. While waiting for the seeds to germinate, I go to gardens that were found 10 years ago in order to monitor their growth. But with this one, I got a surprise. The ant colony collapsed for an unknown reason, and the garden is being outgrown by other plant species. Between the damage caused by herbivores and tree falls and the morning mist, I feel like I stepped in a ghost town. The Peke Peke is our main contact with the civilization. The name of this type of small boat comes from the sounds of the motor. It's an affordable and highly maneuverable boat to use over short distances and within the flooded forest. To take a relative civilization break once in a while, we use it to go to Yanashi. Yanashi is a small village 1 hour away from Madre Selva. There, as we drink coconut water directly from the tree, a little girl borrows my phone to take thousands of selfies of her and her friends. This is also where we will have a fun night at an improvised nightclub with medical students who spent a few days with us at Madre Selva. To finish the night on an adventurous note, the Peke Peke runs out of gas on the river in the middle of nowhere at 2 a.m. But the atmosphere is still lively while we wait for our driver, hoping that he manages to find someone close by to help us. Another of my nighttime activities is taking long exposure pictures to make time-lapse videos. I also tried to take a picture of the owl that hunts close to the station. That's the best I could get. Doesn't he look drunk? One of my tasks at Madre Selva is to conduct a survey of the largest gardens to understand how they expand. First, I tie flagging tape labels to all the Doria trees in these gardens. I also add aluminium labels that will last longer but are less conspicuous. Then, I measure the base diameter and collect one leaf from every tree. Finally, I measure the distance between pairs of trees. These distances will help me draw maps of the gardens when I will be back at the lab. During these surveys, I can often enjoy the company of hummingbirds who mistake the pink labels for orchid flowers. And sometimes, I get surprised in the forest by a rainstorm, and I have to come back to the station to dry up. I was taught by locals how to collect leaves from trees that are too high. The secret is to cut a palm from this palm tree, then to clean it with a machete to make a giant pole, and finally to tie a stick to its extremity. I can now use this tool like a hook to get leaves from branches that are up to 5 meters high. And for the second day in a row, while I'm doing my survey, 100 of flies decide to lay eggs in the cloth in which I wrap my camera. Instead of taking the eggs out one by myself, I quickly realized that I could get unexpected allies. After a few minutes, the small predators find the eggs and start working for me, with a relative success. Even at the station, the wildlife pays us visits sometimes. Attracted by the huge school of fish swimming by the station, a heron approaches cautiously. There are so many small fish that the river glitters in the afternoon sun. And finally, happy about today's meal, the heron runs back to the forest, where he is less exposed to competitors and predators. Like almost every day, I go kayaking to enjoy a peaceful time on the river. It's also the best way to go visit my friends at the clinic. The clinic is part of the Project Amazonas. At the moment, there are 2 doctors, Natasha and Juan, who provide free health services to the neighboring communities. This is also right next to the clinic that I'm invited to celebrate Carnival with the locals. Here, people play music, drink a lot, get into friendly mud fights, and dance for days. And obviously, I ended up getting caught in a crossfire. You might wonder what happened to my drone. Well, it didn't survive its first flight. Even kickstarting its broken propeller is not enough to make it take off again. I guess it was too flimsy to survive in the jungle. After a suspenseful 3-week wait, some seedlings finally emerge. I am only left with a couple of days to transplant them in larger grow bags. More than half of the seeds I collected successfully germinated, including some from green unripe fruits. I placed them in the collapsible cage that I brought to protect them from herbivores and prevent ants from colonizing them. This is a total of 150 plants that I will bring to the forest during my next trip. Last night at the station, I packed my samples. Very early in the morning, I get on the Peke Peke, and finally on the Pongero under a heavy rain. I'm on my way to Iquitos and the civilization. I hope that my plants will wait for me happily, growing by the tower in their small corner of paradise. See you again soon, Madre Selva.